This video I'm going to discuss about how do we create a Django project and host the Django web application into render cloud platform. So first we'll discuss how do we create a Django project, then we will push it to GitHub, and from there on we will connect it to render and host the web application. So this is the project, this is the folder in which I am working, Django projects, and I'm working in Mac. So first we will discuss how do we create a virtual environment. So in Mac, to create the virtual environment we can use this terminal command. So I will name my environment as my box. So this will create the virtual environment, and to activate the virtual environment in Mac you can use source environment name /bin/activate. So this will activate the virtual environment. So this is where I would like to install the Django. So first, to activate this command of activating virtual environment differs between Mac and Windows. So in Windows we have a command something like this, which I'll not run it, but I'll just show how it looks like. For example, if the environment name is my box, so you have something like bin slash sorry scripts /activate. So this is the command which we need to run if it is in Windows. So this is Mac, so I'm not using that command. So once we create the virtual environment and activated it, so we need to install Django inside it. So pip install Django. So that installs the Django in the virtual environment. As you can see, the installation is going on. So the Django is present in the current virtual environment. So to create the Django project you can use Django-admin space start project, and you can give the name of the project, say my Django my Django host, or this is the name of the project which I would like to create. So once we run it, we can now press ls, so we can clearly see our project name, my Django host. These are other projects which I've been doing. So this is the project. If you enter into that project, we have these are the default files. You have once again my Django host and manage.py. So we will be very frequently using manage.py to run the server and to see the output. So once we create our project, our first step is to create an app inside the project so that it does certain tasks. So we call here that app as named as my app. So let me create a app inside this Django project. So python manage.py start app, and I'll call the name of the app as my app. So this is the name of the app which I'm creating inside this Django project. So once I create the project, you can just press ls and we can see there is my app, and there are some default files inside it. We'll see all those files in Visual Studio Code. So from now on we will be working in Visual Studio Code. So just open Visual Studio Code, and you can go to the project where it is. So you can go to file, open folder, and so inside Django projects we have this Django host, so you can open it. So this is what is the project which we created. So we can go to view and click on explorer so that you can see all the files whatever we have. So these are the files which we created. Also go to terminal and create a new terminal. So all the terminal commands can also be run here. So here we will enter into the virtual environment. As you know, we named our virtual environment as my box. So let me just come back one step and activate the virtual environment. So source my box bin activate. So now the my box virtual environment is activated. So once this is activated and once we created the app, there are few things which we need to do so that we can see our first output. So the first thing is go to the Django host and go to the urls.py and connect uh, the project URLs to the app URL. So by default we don't have any app URL. So first step is to create a new file inside the app named as urls.py. It would be empty, but we would be connecting, we will be placing all our URL patterns here. But before that, first we need to connect our Django project URLs to the app URLs. So here, once you go here, you will have URL patterns. So let me zoom it further. So here you can just enter, this is a list, URL patterns is a list, so we are including one more entry into the list. So here you can add path, single quotes, and you can use include and give the name of the app. So here the name of the app is my app, and within that app I have created URLs where all the patterns are going to exist. So this is what we need it. So also we are using include without importing it, so we can just import the include in the top. So towards the end, place a comma and save it. So this is what, so we have connected the project URLs to the app URLs. So now when we go to the app URLs, we have to import few things. So first, from Django .urls, so this is what is the file which we were working. So import path, because path contains every, so we can import the path just like how we have done here, import path. Using that we have entered various URL patterns. So in the same way we'll also be using various methods which are part of views. So from current folder you can import also views. Okay, so let's see how we are going to do. So first type URL patterns, and that will be once again a list. So type path and single quotes. Here we will be mentioning the methods. So we'll create shortly a method called as home inside the views.py. So that views.py, you can see here, as of now there is no views, no methods that we are going to create. We are going to create a home method, home function, and we also need to give a name to this URL. So I'll be using name as home. So this is the basic things to create, to make our Django application working. So this views.home, currently this function is not existing, so let's go to views.py. So before we go there, we can save this file and go to views.py and create here a method which is called as home. So def home, and the default argument should be request, and inside it you can return, and you can use the render, which is a command which we already imported. Request should be the default argument, and let me zoom it a little bit so that it would be more clearly visible. So render request, and here we need to render any HTML file. So here let me call it as home.html. I'm yet to create that. I'll show how to create that also. So we have created a simple method where whenever the user clicks on the home page, it will go to the home.html and displays the content. So let us create the home.html. To create the home.html, first let us create a folder where we place all the HTML files. So I'll call this folder as templates, and within this template I'll place a HTML file which is called as home.html. So this home.html, I'm just using simple h1 tags. So by default here it would be Django HTML. If you want to get the suggestions, you can just type HTML and you can select it so that it becomes HTML. So now it provides you good suggestions, all the suggestions, so you can clearly see that. So I'm just typing hello world, I'm saving this. So I have created a simple HTML page inside template, but I need to make few changes. So to that, first we need to go to the settings and first import OS, and we are going to use the OS library. So here under DIRS, so So in the top, wherever we have this dirs, so here under templates we need to add the path, which is os dot path dot join and base underscore dir comma mention the name of the folder which you created, templates. So save this base underscore dir and os.path.join. So this is what we need to type inside the settings.py. Save this file. So now once we have done this, we can go to our terminal just to see our first output. Just to summarize, first we connected our project URLs to app URLs. Our app name is my app. So we created earlier a urls.py file in my app, and we listed a URL pattern which directs to home method inside views.py. So our views.py contain home method which is going to direct to home.html, which present in templates folder, which simply renders hello world. So let us see whether it happens or not. So let's type ls. So we need to enter into the project. So cd my Django host. So ls. So we have manage.py here. You can run this python manage.py run server. So when you run, you can go to this URL. We are able to see the output. So this is what is our first part. Let us now see how do we connect this to GitHub, how do we push to GitHub, and later how do we host to in render cloud platform. Output from our Django web project, we can host it in render very easily. So before we host it in render, first we need to put our project in GitHub. So first we will see some of the git and GitHub commands before we actually host it in render. So let me come back to my project. So this is my project. My project name is my Django host and our app name is my app. So this is the output which we got, just a hello world. So as you can see here, we have home.html which renders. So this we have seen in the previous video. Now let's try to host it. So before we host it, first we need to create a repository out of it. So I'll be using few of the git commands to create the repository and then connect to the remote repository in GitHub and later host it in render. So first create a repository. So to create a repository, we have the command git init. So this will create the repository for the project my Django host. So it has initialized the repository. So now we need to follow a few commands so that there are some, it will be ready for connecting to the remote repository. So git space add space dot and git commit -m initial commit, or you can write anything just to mention what you're doing here. So and you can press enter. So it is making it ready to be pushed to the remote repository. So I'll also be connecting to the branch main. So git branch -m main and so now let us connect to the, so this is the in local repository. This is within my laptop where I created the repository. Now let us go to the remote repository. So I'll be using my, so this is my account and here I'll be creating a new repository. So go to new and name the repository same as our project. So our project name was my Django host. So I'll be using the same name. For example, this was our name of the project, my Django host. So let's use the same. So my Django host. Okay, and it's a public repository. You can add a readme file if you want. So just create the repository. So once we create the repository, we get this link. This is very important, so we need to copy. And also a lot of instructions are given. These are the instructions which we were following earlier to initialize the repository and to create a branch, and these are the 2 steps which are left. So let us do these 2 steps so that we can connect our local repository to the remote repository. So let's now go to our terminal. So here let's type this command, git remote add origin, and you can paste the link which we have copied. So this was the link, and you can use .git. So you are currently connecting so that the remote repository to the local repository. So the remote repository link is given here, and we are trying to connect our local repository to it. So let's do this. So now few more commands, which is to push git push -u origin. So this -u we do it for the first time, later we don't need it. So git push -u origin. So it has pushed all the changes which are there in the local to the remote repository. That can be verified by going to the project, and as of now there is nothing in this repository, but you just refresh this, you can be able to see all the files which we had in our project. So all the files got pushed from local repository to the remote repository. So we are able to successfully push it, and whenever we make any changes to our project, there are few commands which we can run so that we can push it. So git space add space dot git commit -m, and the comment, and git push origin main. If we run these 3 commands, anytime whatever changes we make in the local repository can be pushed to the remote repository. Now since our GitHub is ready, let's now see how we can host this web project in Render. So to do that, there are few more things which we need to do in the projects. So let's go to our project. Here we need to have a file called as requirements.txt to actually list out all the packages which we are using. So for that we need to do something like this: pip3 freeze, and freeze into requirements.txt. So freeze, you are trying to put all the packages which are necessary for this particular project into requirements.txt. So when you run this, it will create a new file called as requirements.txt. So as you can see, these are the things which are necessary, but we should also include one more thing, unicorn. You can mention the package. I might be using little older one, but you can also experiment with the latest one. So save this, and once we are done, you can just close this. And so since we made some changes, we need to push these changes from local repository to the remote repository. To do that, as I said, git space add space dot git commit -m first change, or you can write anything here inside the commit. So and git push origin main. So as you can observe, I am not using -u here because it's only needed for the very first time. Git push origin main. So all these changes, requirements.txt, all those changes are pushed here. As of now it is not there because I did not refresh. Once I refresh, we can see clearly there is a requirements.txt file which appears here. So as you can see here, so all the things whatever we have done, it is getting pushed here. So once we are done this, so now we are almost ready. Okay, there are few more things to be done. Let's go to our project, and in the settings we have to mention the allowed host. We have to change the allowed host. So here there is something called as allowed host. So here you need to enter what is the URL name which you are going to have for your project. So usually I'm calling it as my Django, and it ends with something like this, on render.com. So this is the name which I want to give, and also the local host one also we place it here, 127.0.0.1. 1 in the single quotes, and you can just save this. So that's it, we are ready, and these changes also should be pushed once again. So let me do this. So git add dot git commit minus m first change or second change, whatever, and git push origin main. So you can now once again verify, go to refresh this thing, and you can just go to your project. You can have settings.py, and now you can see here in the allowed host whatever we have written, we are able to observe very clearly. So that's the thing, this, and we have to use this name when we host it in render. So let's see how to do that. So first type render in Google and just go to render platform, render.com. Here we can go to get started for free. So click on it, and you can either create an account or link it to your GitHub account. So click on GitHub. So it asks for, so return to dashboard. So I have already logged in. So this is what it shows. So go to new and create a web service. So here you have options to do various things, even PostgreSQL and a static site, and I'm clicking on a web service. So here you go to a public Git repository, and so you can just copy the repository name. So my Django host, I'll just click on this, and yeah, go to repositories. So this is the repository. So just copy this link and paste it here, and you can connect to it. So once you are connect to it, it will ask for a unique name. So this is where you need to give the title. So I'll give the title which I mentioned in the allowed host. So I mentioned it as my Django. So just to show that in the allowed host we mentioned mydjango.onrender.com. So this my Django name is what I want to use it here. Language is Python 3, and root directory pip install -r requirements.txt. This we have already in our project. As you can see here, we have already have requirements.txt, which mentions all the necessary packages which it uses. And unicorn, here you can mention your project name. So here it is my Django host.wsgi. So here this is where, if you see in my Django host, I have a file called as wsgi. So this is needed while we host the project. So I'm mentioning here unicorn my Django host. We should maintain the spelling, everything fine, and wsgi. So once we are done, I want to make it a free service. I don't want to have any pro subscriptions. And once we are done this, you can just deploy web service. So it takes some time, or if there is any errors, it will throw out errors here which we need to resolve. Let's see if there is any error. As you can see here, it is trying to build successful. It's a very simple project. We are just doing hello world, so it doesn't take much time. Sometimes we might have a big project which includes databases, various number of HTML pages. It might take huge time. As you can see, it says live, but it is also saying some errors. So let's try to resolve that. What is that error? So it is saying deploying build successful, fine. So let's see what happens. So it is saying it is live. So let's click on this my Django -gfes.onrender.com. So the problem is, this is the name which we actually need to keep in our file, but so this should match with what we have placed in allowed host. So let's So it is trying to build the project. I have changed the name to my Django 1. So as you can see, the link name is also now my Django1.onrender.com. So as you can see here in the settings.py, we placed it as the allowed hosts as my Django1.onrender.com. This happened because in our local folder I made the change. So let's see how it responds. So currently the project is in progress. Now it says it is live. So let's see whether it is working or not. So let's click on this link. As you can see, this is the output, and this is where our project is hosted, my Django1.onrender.com. So in this way we can host any Django project to render. The only intermediate thing which we need to do is first we need to push our repository, which local repository, to the GitHub, and once we have a repository in GitHub, we can directly link to render and host our application. So thank you so much for listening this video.